All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Polzin with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the Week 15 lineup builder video for you guys, touching on everything that we've already touched on throughout the week and applying that knowledge into the lineup process for this week. Both showing you guys how to do 20 entry max and also 150 entry max lineups. That's going to be this video. If you enjoy the coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe. And do just want to remind guys real quick that this is available as a part of the 9 to 5 membership for $10 a month. You're getting a pretty elite lineup builder for $10 a month, and you guys can go through and make it as unique as you want. So for me, the players that I want to be on the most, I'm going to go ahead and up their projections because those are the players that I want the lineup optimizer to have in a majority of my builds. Okay, so like someone like James Conner, I just want to bump his projections up slightly. So like James Conner, let's put his projection at 20 because I want him in a lot of builds. I want to tell the lineup optimizer to have him in there. Same thing with Keenan Allen. You know, I absolutely love him as a play this week. Justin Herbert, same thing. Like just need to be on him, especially more than the field. So there we go. And then Jalen Hurts, let's bump his up to 27. And then Patrick Mahomes, I don't really want to play him. I'm already going to set his max exposure to about 5%. The strange thing was that Patrick Mahomes was the highest owned quarterback on the slate when I did the fades video. So I am basically telling the lineup optimizer I don't want Patrick Mahomes in there. Okay, that's just how I'm starting out the week. And then from there, I got a lot of questions about Garrett Wilson. Okay, I still love Garrett Wilson, guys. Zach Wilson being the quarterback doesn't change it. Sure, it's not like you don't love that news, but at the same time, it shouldn't change the play at all. Okay, why did we like Garrett Wilson? Okay, matchup. Okay, he gets a great matchup going against Detroit. That was the first thing. He's going to be on the field for 90% of the snaps. It should be a pass-heavy game, okay? He's looked good as well, and it's a price point play, okay? 4 or 5 out of his last 6 games, he's been able to hit value at this price point. So, like, yes, Garrett Wilson is still going to be a fine play, still going to be a great play, still someone I am trying to go out of my way to play. And then I do want to make sure that it is going to be getting in some of the values that I want. So, like Chris Moore, who we just got news that Nico Collins and also Brendan Cooks are going to be out. So I want Chris Moore into some more of those builds. So let's go ahead and bump him up to about 13, maybe even 14, just to make sure that we get him into those builds. And then you guys already know Nelson Aguilar is looking like Jacoby Myers is going to sit. So that means we need to be on Nelson Aguilar. Okay, Nelson Aguilar could easily go out and play 90% of the snaps. So once again, let's just bump up his projections as well. And then there's a couple other values that I think will be good values. Okay, Brennan Johnson, let's go ahead and just give him a projection. That'll update most likely on Saturday, maybe Sunday afternoon when it's confirmed that those other players are out. Obviously Sutton, Hinton, you know, that stuff. And then Elijah Moore. And once again, people might not like Elijah Moore with news that Zach Wilson's quarterback. I do slightly agree with that a little bit. I don't really love the talent of Elijah Moore all too much either. So like there's a vast difference between Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, you know. And then Amari Rodgers. All right. So there we go. We got the players bumped up the way that I want them to projection wise. So let's go ahead and do our first rules for the lineup builder. And actually just real quickly, I'm going to sort by projected ownership. Yeah, Josh Jacobs, that's definitely a little bit too high for me. I actually want to be underweight on him. Let's do max exposure for Josh Jacobs at 10%. Zonovan Knight, I guess I'm fine with that. Yeah, going to be underweight on Patrick Mahomes. I like that. One rule that I want to do is that I'm going to set a rule real quick. If a lineup includes Jerick McKinnon, I don't want it to include Isaiah Pacheco. So that's going to be the first rule I do actually. Nah, I'll come back to that. I like to keep the process. Okay, so the first rule I'm going to do, as always, is going to be flex and eligible tight end. Okay, max exposure 40. There we go. Unique players, I typically like to do 3. And as you guys can see, this had an update. Okay, a little bit of an update. Some people are having slight issues with like updating projections themselves last week. That's because an update was being pushed. That should be good to go now for all you guys. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and generate this right now just to make sure it's pulling in the players correctly. Okay, so as it sits right now, getting too much Latavius Murray and probably too much Chris Moore. Might want to bump those down a little bit. I'm fine getting Aguilar at that. You know, I'm good with that. Travis Kelce, I'm good with. Pat Freiermuth, don't probably want that much of. I don't know why it always loves Pat Freiermuth. That's just crazy. I like Dalton Schultz a little bit more. Okay, so let's go ahead and Shaheen popping up there. All right, interesting. 10%. Yeah, he's cheap. That makes sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and set some rules. So I'm going to go ahead and put the stacks in there that I want first. Obviously, stacking quarterback with receiver, same team. Okay. And who do we want to do that for specifically? Well, I'd say Dallas, Philly, and the Chargers were the ones that I wanted to do that with. But I am perfectly fine actually doing it with New York as well. Zach Wilson is at a cheap price point. And then are there any other spots in which we could feel comfortable doing that? I mean, maybe Jacksonville, maybe Mac Jones. Like, I don't really want to do that though. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this. I'm perfectly happy with that. So let's get into some team stacks. Number of players from the teams. I don't know if we really need to touch this. Like last week, it made perfect sense to go Detroit and Minnesota, have like at least 2 players from each of those teams. I don't think we need to do that this week. Now we could go the Chargers, like at least 1 player. And I think I will do that from the Chargers. And that's basically it. All right. Yeah, actually we'll go 2, okay? And I don't know, maybe 50% of the builds. Like, I don't want to go crazy with it, so we'll do that. And now player groups, all right? So this is going to be simple for me. Like, Justin Herbert, lineup includes Justin Herbert. I want at least 2 of Keenan, obviously, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, Everett. You could even go Austin Eckler. I don't know if we need to, so I'm going to do this. I feel very good about that stack. All right, so when a lineup includes Dak, remember I wanted basically this stack, and I'm going to do this. I want exactly CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz. That was the stack that I really liked. We're going to go ahead and save that. And then one other stack that I want to do will be Zach Wilson. Then so we're going to go Garrett Wilson. We're going to go Moore. Then we're going to go Mims still. And that's just based off the news that Corey Davis is looking like he could sit. So there we go. Let's go ahead and run this. All right, so I had to go ahead and put in a projection for Zach Wilson. Once again, that'll update probably this evening for Zach Wilson being the starter in there. So yeah, I just updated that real quick. And then one other player group that I wanted to do was Jalen Hurts. I forgot about that one. So Jalen Hurts. And this is something, guys, I'm actually excited to show you guys this. And I'll show you guys after I do this. I want at least 2 of Smith, Brown, and Goddard. Okay, and he's still on the IR, so it's not going to pop up. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm going to go exactly this. But anyways, this is something you could go ahead and change as it goes on. But I'm going to show you guys this. You generate it. So obviously we have our lineups now based off of that construction. So let's say like it comes Sunday morning, we get news that Dallas Goedert is in or out. What you could do is go into this, and this is actually going to rebuild those lineups based off of that news. So it's still going to keep the same constraints that you have. And this is actually something that works after lineup lock. So if you guys do NBA DFS and like some slate breaking news comes out after lineup lock, that can be huge. Or for NFL purposes, like obviously in the afternoon games, like this would rebuild it for you. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to change Latavius Murray's projection because I don't want him. I'm just going to go ahead and change that real quick. So now if we go into this and I rebuild it, he's not going to be in those lineups. And so that is something where, you know, in the afternoon slate, you can mass swap just like that. And it's an awesome feature. That was part of the update that it was cool. It was a cool update. So I'm going to go ahead and just look at some of the players that are being popped in too much, and I'm going to go ahead and correct that. So Derrick Henry, I'm fine with. Let's go ahead and just put the max exposures down to like 30% though. Okay. I don't want to get too chalky with anything. Let's see here. Miles Sanders. Yeah, definitely too much there, I think. So let's go ahead and put 15 for him. Zonovan Knight, same thing. Probably too much for him. 15. And then Eckler, I'm fine with, but let's go at 15. David Montgomery, kind of same thing. I want to spread out the ownership between the running backs. Like I want to be on James Conner and Derrick Henry, but then we're going to go ahead and spread out the wealth. Okay. And this is also something, guys, where that rebuild tool would be awesome for the Patriots. Like if Stevenson is healthy and active and good to go, he's going to be the one that you want. So you could go ahead and use that. But if Harris is out, then, just hit rebuild and you're good to go. Chenault, yeah, I don't know. Okay. So one thing I'm noticing is that we're not getting Isaiah Pacheco, Rex Burkhead, Dare Ogunbowale in any of the builds. Okay. So one thing I want to set up is I am going to make that player group. So when a lineup includes Keenan Allen, I want exactly 1 of Rex Burkhead, Dare Ogunbowale, Pacheco, and then also McKinnon. And I'm actually going to go ahead and look at their ownerships real quick. I'm going to sort it by team. There we go. So Pacheco, let's bump that up to 16 just to get him in them. And then also Jerick McKinnon, we're going to bump up his projections a little bit, 14. But we're going to do max exposure like 20% and 20%, something like that. And then Rex Burkhead, same thing. We're going to go with like 20%. And then Dare about 15, but we got to bump up his projection a little bit. All right. So there we go. This is actually going to pull in a lot more of those players now. I kind of get that more optimal approach that I want. All right. So now we can see we are going to get some more Isaiah Pacheco into our builds. Should be at 20%, and he is. Same thing with Jerick McKinnon. We're good there. The one other thing I want to just put in there, just in case, I don't think it's pulling in there right now, but when we do 150 lineups, it might. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create one more rule that when a lineup includes Pacheco, if I could spell, exactly 0 of McKinnon. And I'm actually going to do the exact same thing for Rex Burkhead, just to make sure. So once again, just going to do 20 real quick. I just wrote, well, it's loading, guys. Remember last week with this video where all the great values that the lineup optimizer was telling me to be on? I'm like, I don't want to be on that guy that much. Isaiah Hodgins, Josh Reynolds, a bunch of guys like that ended up, DeMarcus Robinson, a bunch of guys that ended up having really good games. It was just kind of funny. And that's why I don't want to mess with this too much. Like, I don't want to filter it out too much, because it is trying to build off the optimal plays. Okay. And it's based off of what you're telling it, but at the same time, it is going off what you are telling it is optimal. So I just found that funny. All right. So we're going to go ahead and do 150 lineups now. And one thing I'm noticing right now, I might just lock it in for the Falcons and Texans D. Obviously Texans D minimum price and Falcons D. I think the cheapest of the good defensive plays, I guess, that should have a decent game. That'd probably be the approach I go with. All right, so here is what it's looking like. And the only change I would probably make is that I want much less of Elijah Moore, Pat Freiermuth. Okay. And that's pretty much the biggest difference. And then obviously if Ramondre Stevenson is ruled out, I'm going to go ahead and hit this rebuild button, and that would most likely put in someone like Damian Harris, and maybe not that much of Noah Brown, although we know why it's putting him in there because the Dak stack. Josh Palmer, that's fine. Another rule I would probably want to do is if a lineup includes Zeke, don't let it include Tony Pollard. And that's about it. Zach Wilson, I might want to bump up his projection a little bit just so I can get him in more than 6%. Although, it's pretty clear you just want to go Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert. And I'm pretty okay with this. Like, yeah, it's looking pretty good, guys. I'm liking that. So obviously as Sunday morning comes around, I can make some updates as needed, but I'm pretty excited for this week after, a pretty awesome week last week as well. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Hopefully you guys are able to go ahead and have a good week this week. I am still shocked at the amount of value that we have out there. The lineup approach is simple, I think, in cash, and in GPPs, you just make those pivots here and there, which is what I'm setting up the lineup optimizer to do. And I think we did a good job of doing that, especially showing you guys that in this video. So if you guys enjoyed the coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.